That will do it for sure.
Yeah, that'll get you.
Yeah. It will.
I'm down 35 pounds personally since first of the year.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It makes it easier to run. I'll tell you that.
Yes, it does. Yeah. And it's easier on your back too, from what I found.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Hurt? Why is this hurt right now? It's like, oh,
yeah, exactly. Knees, back, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not to talk about drinking during Corona, but we're live. What's up, guys? How's your week been?
Well, Corona's ended. We have a vaccine, so we don't have to talk about that.
You know, I'm not going to go there. I had a talk with the doctor on Monday, and I'm not even going to open that door.
Yeah, a whole different topic for a different day.
I technically don't have to wear a mask in public anymore, so you get to see all of this, which the tellers at the grocery store are not happy about that. So
I haven't worn a mask since early summer, and because I identify as vaccinated.
You do what? Vaccinated?
I identify as vaccinated.
Well, my websites identify as quality content, so they rank as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a list
for today because we're talking about virtual silos and clusters, dude, and that is all about identification.
I'm lobbing them in there for you.
You
Mike.
are, dude. Nice. You are. And you know what's cool today is like I was reading Ryan Holiday, and it's a Zeno quote today. It's well-being is realized by small steps, but is truly no small thing. And that made me start thinking about navigation and site structure, because I think people completely devalue and they don't put enough weight on what they're doing with their internal link structure. You know, a lot of them are just kind of brushing over their modular links. They're brushing over not necessarily so much the contextual links, but I think they miss out a little bit on hubs and navigational links by topic, which essentially that's what a silo is. You know, I mean, what do you define a silo as, Fletch?
Well, you did a pretty good job there. You've got to think about
wrong button. Sorry.
Oh yeah. No. You got to think about your topic. You got to think about the topical relevance of pages that have some form of navigational element between the two, right? And then those are linked technically, not maybe with a keyword. They might be, as you talked about, maybe even more with navigation or either primary navigation, page nav, or other things, and how those flow. Like, it's one of the reasons when I got into starting to like truly try to understand SEO as opposed to just do it. Like the tools like Screaming Frog were invaluable because you can click on a page and see where your in links are, where your out links are, and you start to get a sense of like, oh, these are the pages that are going to be related to the page I'm looking at trying to rank in Google's eyes, because it sort of emulates the function of a crawl that Google would do to understand where that relevance is. And if you're really throwing curveballs all the time and it doesn't make much sense, there's a lot you can do with that vastly improves the efficiency of outside links that are coming in and how much work they do and how much they flow through to the next page. Like everybody's talking about, oh, this is going to flow more juice because I got more juice behind it. Well, no, those are factors that are going to be cut down by what your page links to and what other pages you might have on your website linked to it. You've got to consider how much of that, like the way I look at it is kind of like a valve, and the more exact match in some ways to the topic you have that are linking back and forth. I'm not saying to exact match every one of them. That's not the right solution.
No, I know what you mean though, because when you can talk about it like this, you can say exact match, but I might reverse the order and I might add something in the front and I might add something in the back, or it might be a title that includes the exact match. But it really comes down to that you are giving the bots and the spider like context through your anchor text so that they can mature that group of content. You know, they call it a clusterizer in the bot. And right now, like I'm working on a section in Just Lux and a couple other sites and doing some e-com stuff where there has to be a new section going up, right? So for me, when I go in and I need to put up a new actual like subfolder to the website, there's a good chance that if it's a subfolder, some things are going to happen. And that's going to be like there's going to be like a virtual silo or a reverse silo, whatever you want to call it, or a traditional silo built around that. So it's going to go into the top level navigation to flow as much topical page rank as possible, because it's high enough in the knowledge domain of that topic to literally be its own context group, right? So it's got underneath it a whole bunch of clusters. So I look at kind of look at a silo, a traditional silo, as a container, like Alex said, category. It's a container for a topic, right? That includes a bunch of clusters of hyper relevant content, right? So I guess, Corey, how do you define silos and define clusters, like how you think about it? Because that's kind of what we're doing today, like going through all this.
Yeah, and just to kind of preface that, I mean, I would say, you know, and the question might be being asked by some people, like, why are you guys always talking about clusters and silos? And
because they work,
right? And why are they important? And exactly, it's. I mean, I haven't built a PBN for probably 4 years. I know that they work. Like they can hammer strength a lot of things up and get things to rank. If you want to build something,
MSNs work better. Money site networks. Ha ha, Clint.
Yeah.
Clint told me he coined that new term yesterday in Skype. So we got it, bitch.
We said it on YouTube first.
Yeah, it's on YouTube first.
You'll both receive cease and desist from whoever owns
Someone's got
MSN.com.
it from a TV show or something.
Yeah, that's funny.
I told him that exactly. I said that yesterday, dude. I was like, get ready for your lawsuit, bro.
MSN.
But sorry, Corey, go ahead. I interrupted you, man.
No, that's it, and that's it. Is that you know, I think the whole idea of SEO, like, and this is some like gray or black hat, you know, SEOs that don't want to come clean, but the reason, not just for coming clean, we're doing it like this kind of right way. It actually works.
It makes it so much cheaper too. Huh?
Yeah, I was going to say the cost reduction is insane.
Yeah. So if you can actually take a website that's aged, it's been around for a while, it's got some good links coming into it, and then you can reorganize the content. You can increase traffic. You can double, you can triple, you can 10x the traffic on a site without building a single you know, additional link other than what their profile already looks like if you do it right. So you know, it's all of those things combined. Like, and when I think of clustering, it used to be like, just for a very simple example, let's say if I was building out, you know, a locksmith site for San Diego, I'd have San Diego locksmith, and then I have a page that says North County, San Diego, and then it would be like Oceanside, Carlsbad, Vista, and it would kind of go flat from there. But it would all kind of, you know, be pointing up. That was how things used to work really well, and we could get things to rank really well. And maybe they do still rank pretty good. I haven't built a site that way for a long time. And then you said link to the top level page, and it passes it down to all the little pages under there. The way that that clustering has worked and has really done a lot better is when you're building things really from the bottom up, and you flip that triangle upside down, and then all roads are going to lead back and point up to that main page. And so you know, having those really having just a box of content that is all hyper relevant, and like Fletch was saying, like that relevancy can be in the URL, it can be in the content, it can be contextual in the anchor text. But if all of those things, and again, you're taking your cues from everything that Google's showing you. People also ask. I get my anchor text. I pull just a list of related keywords from SEMrush, and I drop those in the bucket, and that's where that's how I'm linking to it. I try not to duplicate them, but that seems to be working pretty well. But yeah,
you know, I had a question. I actually was thinking about you yesterday when I was talking to a buddy from out east in Eastern Europe.
What was I wearing? What was I wearing?
It was pretty cool, dude. You know, especially when
one of those elephant, you know, ensembles.
I was talking about. We were talking about like large volumes of exact match anchors on sites that are not Wikipedia, right? And so what are your thoughts about those anchors hitting a hub, like say in WordPress, hitting a tag page that goes out elsewhere, like not hitting a page that you want to rank, but as a funnel for page rank?
Well, oh, gotcha. Well, I think that's a loaded question, because I think everybody's trying.
I think it's a hell of a loaded question, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I like to leave the tag pages alone. I let them rank. I let them do their thing by themselves. But for massive amounts of exact match, all within the internally in a site, that tanks sites. Like, you're not going to see a site. In my experience, you're not going to see a site rank very well from that. Like, it's one of the first things I look for when approaching a project that's had some problems. You go through and start looking at the anchor text of, the internal anchor text, and it's all built like Wikipedia. And
so what I said is, here's the thing we have to think about. There's a couple things we have to think about. If we are sending anchor text all over the site, we are now including a keyword on pages in clusters that might get confused and be completely confusing the bots, because that keyword is now on a page that should not have that keyword, right? So like
100%.
And also,
but that also then depends on I would just say volume or the nature of the content on that page, right? So a very large page that's really about a topic and needs to include these words.
Yep.
If you've got a navigation that as I talked about last time or 2 times ago, like, I look at anchor text really as making the page where the anchor text lives more about that term. And I think
it's context as well.
Yeah, that can help people understand the nature of, keyword cannibalization, or whatever the popular term for that type of thing is now. It's confusing only insofar as, like, if I'm talking about like me personally, I mentioned the word SEO, and I mentioned the word the mind, and I mentioned the word strategy, and I mentioned the word success,
Yes.
and I mentioned, it's like, so what am I about? Well, I'm more about all 4 of those things. Do I have something to say about all 4 of those things? Yes. But if you don't have enough to say about all 4 of those things, you're going to wind up in trouble. And so you have to look at then the rest of the body of work of that entity. Entity, again, is big. And if you've got other pages that really support that topic specifically better than the main kind of article that you're looking at trying to rank, or the page, the URL that you're trying to rank, then it's probably not something you should do. However, if you have a big site like Wikipedia, where they really treat each of those as its own topic, and you've got enough content to support that, I think it's a good thing. But most people who are building don't.
They traditionally they do that, but they also have some clustering going on and siloing going on at the same time. Now, what happens is, when we talked about context. Now, when we're just sending the same anchor text over and over to something, even if it's internal, which does have more leeway than external linking, we are only giving them the same 2 words or the same 3 words from the whole website. We are kind of shooting ourselves in the foot by not giving them more context through our anchor text to determine what those pages are about that are the targets. And I will say that, like you said, the anchor text you use on an individual page should be crafted not only by the target, but the page that it's on as well.
Yes.
So that it does a few things. So it does not confuse that page in the SERPs, because if we go in and we have a page, say we're doing affiliate for theater, right? And we have a page about a local theater, but we put an affiliate link on there that talks about film, the hottest film right now. We've now thrown a keyword on that page, film, which is confusing the bot. Now, is that page about the theater and a play, or is it about the movies and going to see a film, right? That page about theater should not mention film, because it absolutely confuses the corpus and the document. It absolutely throws a keyword in. And I answered a question to someone last night about keyword mapping. What's the difference between keyword mapping and keyword research, right? And when I answered that, they came back with, well, so keyword mapping is just sprinkling keywords on a page. I'm like, that's a very, very light way to put it, because realistically, keyword mapping should also show you what to exclude from a page, right? There is a hell of a lot when it comes to keyword mapping. I was just talking to...
How do you build your list, your exclusion list, Mike? Is there a way to do that easily?
There are ways. There are tools, like there are clustering tools out there, and I've been testing a lot, and I'm not ready to recommend any individual one. I have some favorites. I think people know, like, Keyword Cupid, and he does a good job of intent. And I think Cluster AI is actually kind of missing the boat on some of that, so it's grouping wrong. So, but really, what you're doing is like keyword mapping is looking at the SERP that you want to target, determining that intent and the topic, and making sure that you're not confusing the intent and not confusing the topic at all through these individual words that are going onto a page. And that's kind of what the inherent problem is with like spam sites, right? Like website spam builders. Instead of like letting one page rank for everything, like we know works extremely well and very cost efficiently, you're now throwing out a bunch of pages for the same exact keyword and cannibalizing the shit out of your website, right? Instead of letting that happen on an individual page. So I would suggest that a spam site should actually pay more attention to clustering and pay more attention to keyword exclusion. And to be done correctly, you need to be paying attention to all of that to do spam correctly, or to do, I would say, do spam most efficiently, right? So,
well, like circling back to the question that was posed to Corey, and he was talking about like when the Money Site Network concept came up, you know, there's a lot of you know, questions in the world of search engine optimization. It's like, how much is this link worth? What, you know, it's like, it's from a generic site, but I've got the right, you know, page title and URL structure and right, you know, keyword structure and all that kind of thing, but it's kind of generic in topic as far as the power coming into it. Well, if that page is ranking in the SERP for a very related topic that's supporting what I'm going to be using it for a link for, that's a very good indication that it's going to be valuable. Right. It's valuable because Google shows us their cards. What they rank, they determine valuable for those topics. So if you are building ranking pages that then support something that has maybe more competition, or it's going to be, you know, potentially more money flowing into it or out of it, it's harder to get, you know, page one for. Looking at how many pages do you have supporting that page that are also ranking for their topical context, and that topical context being very closely related to the keyword you're going after on that page, it's going to give you a much better indication of whether or not that is going to be a very valuable link. And so then when you flip that around to your SOPs, okay, what I want to be building then are pages that of their own accord are going to rank better for something that supports what I'm trying to achieve with kind of my money keyword or keyword group or whatever you want to call it, right?
Yep. No, it's actually a super fascinating topic to me, like the whole thing. And I guess we should actually discuss like the difference between a virtual or reverse silo and what a cluster is. Do you guys have an opinion on do you guys even consider those different? Is, I guess, was what my question is to you. Like, I see them as kind of different navigation structures, and clusters different internal linking structures. But like, what do you see them like? Do you see
I can show you a real world example. I looked it up. That's what I accidentally closed my screen for. Google Drug Rehab Orange County. This is a former client. So this is what happens when we come in and fix the structure and get them ranking first page, and then they don't want to pay anymore. So we leave everything intact, and they get another SEO company or someone who thinks that they know what they're doing, and they change everything around, and it goes back to where it was. You know, drops from page 1 to bottom of page 2. Okay, so scroll down, search for Control F, northbound, NORTHBOUND. Okay, not there. Go to the second page.
My shit's so slow right now streaming on this laptop. Sorry, everyone.
That's an hour show. We got time. All right, hit Control F again. See, they should be on that page.
Yep, there they are.
There they are. So they're like number 8 or 9 on the second page, right?
Yeah, they were actually, I think they were like 12 or 13, if I'm not.
Oh, really? Well, they just got to click.
They're 8, they were 9 or 8, yeah.
Yeah.
So how many?
Yeah, go back to that page.
Yeah, it's loading.
Yeah. So I had them ranking page 1 at the top, right below the maps for drug rehab Orange County. And now this has been a few years. So, I mean, if you spam them, they're not a client anymore, but please don't spam them. But look at that URL structure. That is the typical, like you watch an old school, I don't know, like Network Empire or someone similar.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Silo structure. And this is what happens. They fucked up the on page. They fucked up the structure. Actually, I think they converted. If you click on Orange County in the navigation there, if you want to just right click it, sub navigation, the breadcrumbs, sorry.
Oh, right.
That works too. Yeah, either one. I think that's the same page.
You know
this
what?
one they
pulled the link out, bro.
it doesn't even work.
Dude, I forgot. You know what? We realized that they had pulled. We talked about this one day. I was laughing because they did take a huge drop when they removed the intent-based breadcrumbs, and like when people do that, they tank constantly, dude. Like it's kind of funny to see that.
It's crazy, but I think they are in the page that we had. They fucked with still, but the page. The hell was that?
Was that me?
That's Corey's instant messenger. Oh, it's probably on the site. He's got AOL up, but it's just hilarious that we had everything the way the NFG teaches it and everything exactly the way that we teach it. I went through and they had a bunch of
break in real quick. So this silo structure that we're looking at would be considered a physical silo 100% by definition.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, that's a physical for sure. Absolutely. So I think and Brad's not saying for everyone out there, Brad's not saying that silos are a bad thing. Like we can't have websites without categories and topics, right? But
they messed up the URL structure. They took out all of the on-page optimization. They didn't leave anything, and then they dropped way back. Like look at the title. Is it drug rehab? Yeah, it's Newport Beach, where the volume was in drug rehab Orange County.
So look at this. I want to say something here. Do you see this right here? They're linking from this page into the residential treatment center cluster. This is a different intent. This is a completely different cluster. This should not be linking in this manner. This is like part of the problem here.
Mike, trim that URL. Mike, take the Newport Beach off of there and see what happens if there's a page at Orange County.
There is, yeah.
Yeah, it's their hub. It's a hub. It's a location-based hub.
This is more like the page that I was working with, where it's optimized for Orange County, but in the SERPs, like we saw, the way they have it set up, they're popping for the Newport Beach page is popping for Orange County, which is what they do not want. I would, if I went in here as an SEO, I would tell them to get the fuck rid of the Newport Beach page, redirect it to the Orange County page, put Newport Beach a few times on the page. They will still rank, and then have it switch out so they can fully optimize their.
Newport Beach is like a salient entity related to Orange County.
Yeah, and the volume is in drug rehab Orange County. The volume is not in drug rehab Newport Beach. Will you get some clicks and search from Newport Beach? Yes, you could probably get.
And
some
that's a really good point, because this goes back to intent and like the buyers and the customers lexicon, like what really is converting there, and that's what's important there. And we happen to know, like, so right here, let's see where they took hits. So they did take some hits on their intent. Obviously, it looks like right here. So the date ranges that they have, and that was for the root domain. What I want to see is that we'll do the exact URL first and see if they're taking hits on the.
And it's hard because we weren't even working with the URL that we had on the site doesn't even exist. And who knows if they freaking redirected it properly either. Like I would be interested in seeing that.
And what was your URL, Brad?
I think it was just straight up northbound whatever their URL is / drug - rehab - orange - county. It should have been what you had.
So they definitely took intent hits, and what I'm telling you right now, when I looked at that page, instantly I saw them linking out of the proper cluster. Right. And even here, depending, and now I can't say that the business decision isn't sound. I'm talking purely from like a topical standpoint, right?
This is an SEO perspective, yeah.
And what I'm seeing here too is this is not a decision I would make here, because they are linking out to different essentially different clusters and different intents. Like if you're talking about a program and you're trying to go after a program, you have a different intent than if you're trying to go after a location. And I think that
and look at the title on this page too. They put "and alcohol" at the end,
right?
Because they were trying to keep it drug rehab Orange County plus alcohol. Dude, just don't put that.
Yeah, that's a different
volume. Yeah, the volume was in drug rehab Orange County. It got like 2,000 searches a month at the time, which would have brought them a ton of admins.
Yeah.
Well, so Brad, talk about, like, we talk about kind of from our SEO perspective, but then when you're going through the sales process, like the discovery of what they're doing with their business, right? Where they're getting their clients and all that kind of thing. Like you've got to kind of have a meeting of the minds a little bit. You bring your body of work and where you're a specialty as far as being able to see certain things as far as search volume and things go. Unless you discover these types of things during the sales process, then it might not make business sense for them, even if they are ranking better and they wind up tanking if they don't take your advice.
The issue, I agree 100%. The issue with this particular company is we were working with another marketing firm who was getting other treatment facilities on board. So they were making essentially their own network of treatment facilities. They brought these guys in. They're like, okay, work on this site. Okay. So I was like, can we talk to the owners? Can we talk, that's going to be difficult. Okay. So they're like, here's access to the site. Do what you need to do to get us higher in the SERPs. Okay. So we did. And then after, I think it was like 3-4 months, they just there was a disconnect there. So that's essentially, why we lost them, which makes 100% sense,
Yeah.
So what I'm willing to bet is I would come in here and from a ranking standpoint, we would see a lot of key terms for the drug addiction type terms and then the location type terms that are on, pages, after page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
2, 3, yeah.
And what I'm saying is that if they went in there and they locked up their intent more, you can still handle the business and the sales funnel while locking up that intent and the topics. You will start to see those pages start to move up in the SERPs without doing much else anywhere else or off page, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so right here, this might make sense. Like I would like to know, let's see where they're linking and talking about airports. What are they doing there? Like the whole point I think today is to really think about when we're thinking about how to put keywords into our navigation, into our topic clusters, our silos, whatever the hell we're looking at right then, how do we look at that? How do we make a decision on what is important? Is that the homepage? No, it's locations. Okay, let's see. So a good question here, I think, if you're working for them, is how important is the airport and the discussion about the airport, looking at and I don't know because I don't remember the campaign, looking at is it local people? Do people actually use an airport to get to your facility? Do they come by car and are dropped off? Because if they don't use an airport to get to the facility, this is what happens when people go to a regular keyword research tool. They pull all the long tails and they say, oh, I'm in cognitive SEO or I'm in SEMrush. And look, if you don't filter to focus words, you'll see location-based terms. And I see people all the time just grab all the keywords and start building that and using that as anchor text without understanding that they're throwing in unneeded topics and relevance that is actually negative to their ranking, right? And I think that's kind of what I'm getting at with this site right here after Brad brought it up. That's what I'm seeing them do. And I wish I had the answers to those questions because it would be interesting to see why some decisions were made there.
Well, so Mike,
I don't think they know.
Well, I'm sure, yeah.
Like contrast a little bit. You were talking about program-based keywords versus location-based keywords, right? Mm-hmm. If you're trying to run a campaign for things to do in location, you're going to be looking at these keywords for sure.
But it depends. But here's the thing: not in the same cluster.
But not in the same cluster, exactly. Right. So what I really try to do as I get into this is know where to draw those slices, right? Know when it's going to be this, else it's going to be that. And so for something like this, that's very programmatic, it's very topical on, either drug rehab and or alcohol, depending on how their business is set up, what the campaign is. You might completely exclude things like airports, weather conditions, hotels. Like if it's an inbound facility, like there's a lot of things you might exclude that if you were running a different kind of campaign in the same area for different sorts of keywords, you're going to actually include those because they actually do support the intent, right? The user intent and the type of customer that might be looking for stuff like that.
Segue into why we use silos and clusters, because those types of things, the contextual linking that we're seeing on this page, I am not saying don't link to the programs from that page. I am saying make sure that you are doing this in a very smart manner and crafting how your page rank flows. Because you might want right here, they've got this this detox link right here, and we're going to take a look. I'm going to search it. So they've got this link that's just pure, it just says detox, right? On this location page. Now that might make a good site-wide link to a certain page, and it might not make a great contextual link, but it should be in the content, just not linking. Does that make sense to what I'm saying? Like where we put this?
Because that's what it is. It's detox. You're sending detox traffic and the bots that are looking for detox away from that page that is typically detox, right? Which is,
you are telling them where. So here's the thing with intent, right? And here's the thing with topic and different clusters that doesn't get dug into is when we're pulling in traffic for our rankings and anything, we are informing Google what is important all the time. And one of the ways I do my linking on new client sites or new sites that have age is going in and finding where all the traffic is and carefully craft the outbound links on that page to make everything else rank. So if that's something that we do when we go into a new website to get more traffic, if we're not really careful about how we link, because what I see here, I see someone almost taking a list of keywords, putting it in like a WordPress plugin, and linking out with every term to a certain page programmatically.
Right. It seems that way, yeah.
Well, look at detoxification services right under detox. Are those going to the same URL, Mike? So so you got, right there.
Programs detox, they are. Yeah, they are.
Well, so even think about like if you're trying to rank a page for Orange County drug rehab, are you going to put a link with anchor text with that keyword, right? That search phrase? Are you going to put a link with that search phrase to a different page?
No,
you're not. Why? And then you answer like the why is like, okay, so that leads you to some understanding of what you need to be thinking about doing, right? That page is going to have relevant links that go elsewhere about a different topic, but you're not going to link out with the thing that you're mainly trying to rank for, that the main page is about.
So I think that this, and I think that makes a very a good, it begs another question is, when you're approaching a piece of content and you have it written and it's ready to go, it's part of a silo, how many links should you have in there, and where should you place that in the body of the content? And I have my answers, but I want to hear what you guys say.
What was the question?
So you have let's say you have a silo that you're building. You've got a content piece you put up. It's 1,000 words. Where should you put the link in that content, and how many times should you be linking out from there?
So right now, like I will say,
not your pillar piece of content, but the pieces that are supporting it.
I'm going to say whatever supports that page's topic and intent, and how much page rank is being funneled and how big the website is. Like it really is dependent on so many factors. It's like talking about Wikipedia again. If like I can go over to like the best of luxury section that I put together, years ago, and look at what's linked to there through like the modular links in the actual silo structure. That can happen there, but it can't happen on another site that I have because of the power and the age and everything behind it and the metrics on the page, all the rank brain metrics and like social and everything. So all of this actually does come into play after you've gotten the document proper, like you've done the on-page optimization. So like it goes back to, if we're talking about like films, if we're talking about theater and plays, and we start throwing in anchors, and I would be more worried about the topic of those anchors rather than how many of them. But right now, all the testing, everything coming back, when I'm removing top navs, removing footer navigation, and just leaving like a modular link to like 3 or 4 pages, that topical page rank flows much better. Like they have removed, like you shouldn't have 100 links on a page. They've removed what their recommendation is, but that doesn't mean that you still should throw 100 links on a web page, right? Because you are leaking page rank on every single thing. And the whole myth about you can't pass page rank twice from one page to another page is not true. You can do it, and there are ways to do it. And so you really do have to craft the content. And to me, the anchors are a huge part. Like Fletch said, it's a huge part of the content. It defines what that page is about that's sending the link out. And it also adds context to the target. So it gives the bot an idea. So when we look at like Core Web Vitals coming up, where they've specifically said that we are going to use page A's through D's metrics to actually estimate the next page that comes up in that silo, like your metrics on those pages are going to directly affect how you rank a new page the next time you put a new page up. And they do that with content already. They're just starting to add other metrics into that shit right now, right? So if they're doing that, that means that we really do have to pay attention to what we link to and what we associate with other pages on our sites. Because if we throw the wrong page, like this is theoretical now with Core Web Vitals, but if we throw the wrong page from the wrong like context group, like of the cluster into like say a silo, like we've got the wrong page in there, and like let's take a Forex example that we talked about in the membership last week. If we have a site that covers Forex and we have like a chart type section where we have different charts, but we accidentally include that into another thing, we start skewing the context of that category or whatever, the bounce rate for a Forex trading chart should be different than a video page and an article on Forex, because there's two intents for those pages, right? So if you have an article where someone's trying to learn, if they come and hit your page and bounce, you're not giving them what they want. If you have a chart and they just want a total on a number, I go to Bitcoin charts all the time, right? And I just look and then I bounce. That is what the trend is. And that is a metric that is important for that like knowledge domain or topic.
It's almost the complete opposite, Mike. Like if you find what you want and then bounce, that's like a positive signal,
right?
Almost.
Well,
right. If you don't do a subsequent search or something like that,
bounce,
right?
So yeah. I think there's a difference though between bouncing or closing the browser window, and I'd rather have somebody close.
Oh no, absolutely. We have. I'm being very general here, like waffling and stuff. Like there are definitely like different ways to categorize bounce, but in like if you look at what an actual knowledge domain is, it's just like a topic. All of them have all these metrics associated with them that like RankBrain and all these other things cover, that are all these other signals, right? Core Web Vitals, they're talking about basically how the user interacts with the rendered page, you know? And that's a huge thing, the rendered page. If there's a trend and they have a mature cluster, they have a mature corpus, they have a mature knowledge domain, then they know.
Instead of mature, can we just call it a MILF cluster?
A MILF cluster. If they have a MILF cluster in the MSN, then they know exactly what they need to see when a new page goes up. If they have millions of pages they've crawled and classified in a topic, and you put a new page up, do you think that they're going blind, right? Are they going blind and, oh, it's a new page, I just need to look at the content and then I figure it out? No, they know everything about that topic, and they can compare you to everything about that topic. And they've been doing this forever, but now that they've announced Core Web Vitals, we have to kind of pay attention more to some of the things they've talked about to make sure it doesn't start to affect us. Like Brad and I had a situation where we saw like, I would say like a 300 or 400% increase in impressions and traffics, literally from one cache state to the next overnight because of a render issue, right? They were not rendering the page content, which made it look like.
If only you had told them sooner, right, Mike?
Right, exactly. So if you do that and you look at the product review update that happened, and you look at like the winners and losers from the product review update, you can clearly see.
Well, you want to tell them what they were doing to every single page?
Yeah, I'm going to. So like if you look
Jesus.
at that update, what you see is product review update is literally just more like intent shit like December core was, because the winners and losers, you can see that some of them fulfill the user intent better than other people fulfill the user intent. New York Times was a loser in product reviews because they did not address specific issues when people look for product reviews. They didn't address education. So usually when someone is searching for product reviews, those things rank better when there's a sub intent of like information on it. And because they were not addressing the sub intent of like information, they lost out to smaller websites that were addressing the sub intent of information, right? So all of this ties together to make sure that we know they're announcing the kind of updates that we're doing. We know what they've done in the past, so we can tell that the intent is extremely important here. And I think that that's the big thing that we have not really talked about when it comes to the clustering navigation inside of our silos. Like I know it's talked about in places, but I see a lot of people missing it. What's the software that we talk about?
You talking about Blackwood?
Or Cog?
I think maybe Cognitive or some, people use phrase. There's a lot of things people use.
Pop and Cog maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, Pop is, when we're talking about this, it's interesting that you say that, dude, because I was thinking about Cora and I'm like, what Fletch said was like, we're talking about looking at all of these things that associate us with a topic. So when we're doing our correlation SEO and we're looking at everything and how to like rank our pages, we could actually maybe call that a link building tool, because those pages are proper for those terms. So those are great link targets, or those metrics are great link targets. So it's kind of interesting because it really is just it's an organic process, and they've split apart content marketing from SEO. But I think that all of us, would you ever think that content marketing is a different thing than SEO at this point, Corey or Brad?
Well, it's definitely a huge part of it.
Well, yeah, but I think that I think nobody really knows what content marketing is. Like people say content marketing, they don't understand what they're asking for. I think in my mind, content marketing is getting content written, having some links put to it, and making sure that content is something that is going to address the query, and that it's something that's going to rank. So that's what I think. Content marketing.
I do too. I absolutely do. But this is cool because this is a good point. I think it's a trick question, because from like what it really is to what the traffic says, and this talks about intent, right, and topic really well. So like Neil Patel's training section, right? It's interesting how you watch him.
That's where Mike gets all of his SEO info.
Exactly. Everything from here. Everything. I just go and read his stuff and regurgitate it.
I like to watch the YouTube videos in my underwear. So
exactly. So look at that. We consider them the same thing, but look, we've got SEO unlocked and content marketing unlocked. Now, why would that be that they're two different clusters? Is it because they really are a different topic, or is it because the search intent is completely different?
I think the search intent, the person searching for SEO tactics versus content marketing tactics is completely, it's a different person.
Well, I think that person is also a little bit, it's confusing to somebody who says it and to somebody who hears it. When people say content marketing, a lot of times they're thinking they want some PR done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because a lot of the times I'll say, like, I'll talk about a cluster or I'll talk about a silo, and I've had lots of students always say, or I'll talk about a cluster and they haven't heard talks about silos, and the students will say, well, aren't those the same thing? And no, they're not. Like and because it makes up so many terms, like we all call things different shit for some reason.
Mike likes to make up terms.
Because of that, like someone might go and look at what a silo is and then see something about a cluster and be like, oh, that's just another way to talk about a silo, right? So,
and like a lot of this is kind of carryover from print media, right? PR was PR. They already had distribution. They already had eyes, and so what you then have to consider is like SEO is a relatively new thing, right? It's been kind of a thing for a couple decades or whatever.
Compared to the Mad Men days, it's very new.
So it's a new thing, and so it's continuing to refine further and further. and we're able to draw more lines and distinctions between different things that we're doing to try to not only get eyes on our content, but then also get people to act on whatever intent they had when they visited the page that we built. So, you know, that it's one of the great things about SEO, and I'll stand up on my little soapbox here for a second and talk about this. It's like, okay, no, the energy and attention you put into learning these things and becoming astute and very good at noticing what needs to be done, that's why you get paid, and that's why we get paid well. There is a massive difference between someone who can regurgitate Neil Patel's information versus somebody who can actually take a large site and say, hey, this is what we've got to do. Like there's just a huge distinction, and it's based on what you know and what you can actually do, your power, right?
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons that I've continued to stay as active as I can with knowing people in the industry who are doing these things. And I can, you know, call any of the guys here, be like, hey, like, I got a weird project here. I'm not seeing what's up. Like, why,
dude, whenever I notice something, I
right.
never fail to send certain people a message. I'm like,
Yeah.
look, dude, I think I'm seeing this. Like, are you seeing something similar? Instead of going and asking, hey man, what's going on with your stuff? Like, I like people to like reiterate, like, are you seeing this, or tell me I'm freaking completely off base,
Yeah.
you know, because
Yeah.
I'm one brain, you know?
Yeah. And you kind of want to have both sides. Like, you kind of want to have people who have the common language, like we talked about silos versus clusters. And if you said silo to one person, they might also think it means clusters. And like, you've got to have some people who know the stuff, you know, and you've got to also maybe have some people who know some different stuff and come at things from a different angle. And they're like, oh, you've got a really big cannibalization issue, right? And they're really, you know, kind of focused on that. And that's kind of their body of work, and that's what they do. I've found it profitable, or at least somehow
Equitable.
like kind of like positive, right? I get like different people are going to see different things.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're always just kind of saying, are you seeing this? And they know what you know, and they can say, yeah, I'm seeing that same thing too. There still may also be a different factor that you're not recognizing. And that's why continuing to stay involved with
I like
people who are doing this. Right.
I love talking to new SEOs. I love talking to old school SEOs. And I love talking to people like in the middle, because everyone has a different outlook on SEO because they started at a different time. Like a lot of old school, like you know, at one point, like you only targeted one keyword a page, and then you only targeted 3, right? Like there's people that have different methodologies, and like it's kind of interesting what that develops as people get better at their craft, right? Like, because it builds them in a specific way. Like, my SEO is very different than everyone here's SEO, because I did a lot of work with larger brands and media buyers. So I thought about it as, that's why I was way early on CTR. I was half a decade early on CTR testing. You know, I was testing it in like 2011 or 10 or something, because I was already making money with CTR bots, and there were patents out that like made sense to like look at that with search, right? So our experience really does craft how we see things. So I'm never going to see it the same as someone else, even if they have the same kind of view as me, right? It's still going to be different. It's interesting.
Speaking of PR, I wonder how many people ever actually look at, like, how many eyeballs see those press releases that we just get from Fiverr every once in a while. I wonder, like, who gives a shit about those? If anyone has ever fucking read that.
4,000. Some of them, most of them, like when you get one of those that actually count, they're like, oh, this got 4,000 pages.
Yeah.
Add them all
like,
up.
Who's on that random fucking CNBC sub like category website from like you know, somewhere in Pennsylvania, like Amish country, Pennsylvania. And they're like, oh yeah, look at this new plumber that opened a place in Bakersfield. That's cool. You know?
I wonder
I might move to Bakersfield just so I can have a better plumber.
Yeah, exactly. The guy's
right?
Mennonite, but it's going to take a while. He's going to have to take the back roads, but
he's got his Amish whip going.
Yeah, he's like, well, I was
ready.
going,
Yeah.
I was going to move to Bakersfield, but they already have a good plumber. He puts his he puts his pipe wrench back in the like on the horse's saddle and shit. But yeah, I just curious. Like, I have no idea who the fuck reads those.
Well, I mean, not
work.
only that, but
They do work.
Even like the high paid, PR, which is like public relations stuff, where you get a bump in traffic for a little bit. Well, so something might be found in the SERPs and like in news, maybe it's found in like Google News for a day. They get some traffic, they get a little exposure, and then it's gone. You have a link left. It's usually no follow. So what have you gotten from that? You've got a little exposure, and then you got some bragging rights. Hey, we were found up on BuzzFeed or some of these other publications.
As seen on, well, I've got to go to the Google images and find the correct as seen on them.
What if you're promoting a Forex chart and you check the refer and you pull a little trick where they click instantly something that either closes the browser or goes to another website, so they find what they want, right? So like there's all these like things we can do when we understand these like metrics that they're looking at. We can creatively craft that metric set for them by understanding that like what Corey said, having the bragging rights. I mean, getting one hit from MSNBC or a set of hits from MSNBC on a new page that actually has the right metrics, like say it does the right metrics, could be super beneficial to like.
It does push. It does push. I just don't know how many people actually look at that.
No, exactly. And that's the thing. Is like we have to look at it from like that marketing standpoint and from the technical standpoint. And then if we're doing agency work or working with clients, we also have to know where the right decisions are and where to back off when it's time to back off and let the decisions be made for either marketing, business, or SEO, right?
Well, if you want traffic from a trusted website, throw $10 at it from Google Ads or $20, and that satisfies that that aspect of what Google's looking for as far as like refer.
Plus, you'll see how it performs. Really quick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I swear by AdWords, man. People think that AdWords doesn't change SEO rank, and I don't agree whatsoever. Dude. There's a whole reason, a slew of reasons why it does, and it also protects your site.
Yeah. What about Yahoo Ads, Mike? How often should I run those to my local plumber?
All the time. Spend all the time.
That's all. I don't think you could spend any money on Yahoo Ads. It's
how much are clean pipes worth?
You have to buy them through Bing.
Oh yeah. Oh, is that you got to go through Bing to get that?
That's how you advertise on DuckDuckGo. It's all from Bing's advertising.
Yeah, that's in their network. That's funny. I know I've tried Bing ads before, and it's hard to get fucking traffic from them.
Jared's my new virtual secretary.
Really blow out your keyword set at that point.
Quillbot, man. Thank you, Jared. And James, Jared is right. If you're talking about content, it was Quillbot.
Yeah, just the rewriting, which we are working on. How close is that Quillbot stuff?
I saw a few day thing like a couple days ago, so I'll be checking back there. What we were having with some issues was the amount of content returned. In the
small.
Yeah, it was coming back with like 3 or 4 sentences, so we've been working around it. The API is kind of janky on that, but it should be pretty quick that it's ready.
Anytime you're dealing with someone else's API, it's more difficult, but
and they don't even have their own. They use I forget if it's open or which one it is, so they're using.
Oh, really? Anyway, more coming soon with Quillbot.
Yep. I actually need to get the bot to the members. Like I need to get that hosted and in the members area, and then I told them I'd get them the image bot as well. So looking at all of that.
Yeah. Do we need? I guess we need to revisit that and have a webinar about that at some point.
Yeah,
the image bot,
we talked about
it worked like crazy. Yeah.
We had to shift off into more linking and internal stuff because there were some questions that came through that day. And like right now, we're doing e-commerce.
There's been a lot of future update questions in the group lately, so that needed to be addressed.
No, so we didn't talk about what a virtual silo. We did talk about it, but so the way I define a virtual silo versus a cluster is that in a virtual silo, this is how I think about sections that I'm going to link to from the main navigation or on the homepage. I would do this as a virtual silo. I link to it from the homepage, and then I would link to it from the support pages, and I would cross-link 1 to 3, in a traditional down structure silo, the support pages. In a cluster, that's typically going to be inside of a physical silo for me, and it's going to be kind of like a hub and spoke model, pillar page. HubSpot calls them, I think. That's like what I consider like a traditional cluster. It's a laser targeted topic intent group. You know?
Well, I would say because, you know, and the reason why we use those a lot of times is that because certain CMSs have limitations where you're not able to build out a physical silo. But the way that I've been using them is that you have, let's say you have a pillar piece of content, let's say you get like 8,000 or 10,000 searches a month, you want to rank for that. And then you want to support that page from other pages that you're going to put out. So let's say you have that piece of content, and you have another piece of content around here, links to this one, links to this one, links to this one, links to this one. They all link to the main page. And that goes back to, you know, just if you want to—
It's just link wheels, right?
Well, yeah, it's
Corey, I got a question. You
link wheels.
A question one time about exclusion, right? So say you've got a pillar page ranking extremely well, and you've got a support page that's linked to from that and links back up for a set of keywords that, like, it's almost there, dude. What do you think about removing the anchor, the actual tag from the primary page or the pillar page, leaving the content on the page, removing the anchor, or even pulling out the individual like modifier, and then allowing that page, the support page, to now pop up more to get rid of some of that like natural cannibalization that goes on? Like, what are your thoughts there, dude?
Well, first off, and that's always the question when you're doing this kind of stuff. First off, on my pillar pages, I have yet to really start at scale reciprocal linking between the pillar and the support pages. So I mostly just have it going one way, so right to the pillar page. If it looks like that, you know, there's one of the pages that should be ranking more, I'm not going to do anything to the pillar page. I'm gonna work a little bit more on the page that actually has to rank. Maybe shoot some links at it and link to that from a couple of the other support pages. But I typically don't mess with that pillar page unless there's another pillar page that is related, but it's not going to be cannibalized, and I'll link to another pillar from one pillar to another. But on that side of it, no. What are you saying?
So to me, that link to one pillar to another, that's your silo right there. Like, I totally do that as well. Like, I'm all over that. I love that shit, because those should be connected in a lot of cases. Yeah, it's interesting because I do see success with removal of keywords because, again, it's just the same. It's not different than what we talked about. I think it is a matter of just literally a decision. Is like, is it sufficient? Are we in both places? Like, are we sufficient with a little bit less rank on both pages, or should we craft one page to have more rank for that topic, right? It just comes down to that decision at that point, but it really is just, again, the intent and topic crafting or whatever, you know? Because like if you have a pillar page, like potentially there are cases where you might actually have another stack of clusters underneath it with slightly different intent. And I think that's more of where I would remove than do that, is to just clean up intent a little bit more. But yeah, it's interesting. I was wondering what you thought about it. So I'm getting a diagram for Dave. I think I remember that. I think that you could go to SEO Fight Club and actually see what Kyle and Ted had called like a reverse silo. And it's pretty much the same thing to me. Yeah, here.
And then what constitutes cannibalization?
Flash, what do you think?
Well, eating your own.
Yeah.
All right. That's kind of the definition. So,
an extreme example for us one time was when we were ranking for, it was a mass page site, and we were ranking for Suboxone doctors near me or Suboxone clinics near me, one of the two. But it was Suboxone doctors near me, and then city state 30,000 times because we were using Lead Gadget probably. Yeah,
I think I did Lead Gadget on that.
So we had it on page 2, but then the cannibalization came in when it was like 4 or 5 pages were all ranking on page 2 and just fighting it out for the main spot instead of the home page. Extreme cannibalization, extreme example, but 30,000 pages that were essentially the same.
But that's the symptom that you recognize,
exactly.
right? Mm-hmm. And then when that symptom is noticed, then there's a treatment for it, which is, okay, let's make one of these
main
kind of
primary.
canonical
Keyword
main
exclusion right there.
pillar,
Keyword
right?
exclusion from the mass pages to point to either the home page or the pillar page, so that the what was the topic?
Suboxone doctors.
Suboxone doctors. So Suboxone's focused here, but then locations are underneath is one way to fix that, so that you're not going after the Suboxone factor on every single location page. Now, mass page obviously has its own.
That was a different. Yeah, we were trying to do double dip in that instance, but yeah.
Did we expire our domain, Brad?
Probably, yeah. I didn't. You bought it. I didn't buy it.
I bought NFG SEO.
Oh no.
Someone just said it expired, bro.
Huh? We'll check it out.
Yeah, here we go. We're gonna lose it. Go get it now. Leave and go get it right now, dude. 12:01 though, so we're gonna go get some work done.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
I hate it when that happens.
All right.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
It might not be. It might be the server. I haven't looked.